And we're starting today's broadcast. And I want to welcome everyone today. My name is Johnny Williams, and I'm your host here for Motivational Minutes. This is a show that I started to as a review for uh, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow. I'm sorry, The Law of Success. So there's a law of success. This is the book that I'm reviewing with you guys. I've read this book a few times, and I'm going through it again with you just to give you some insight as to methods that I use to help keep me on track and keep me focused on my goals and keep me um, headed towards achievement of my definite chief aim. Now, what I'm going to do is a quick recap. I'm going to come back here. And if you'll remember, we started our sessions out with lesson number one, which was establishing the mastermind. Once we established our mastermind, we went into formulation of our definite chief aim. You know, your definite chief aim is basically your ultimate goal, the thing that you're going to be striving for. This is the reason I've established this mastermind group, is so that if you've got a goal that you want to pursue, follow these principles, and this will help get you there faster. I follow these principles in most of the things that I do, and I'm able to achieve my goals. I'm able to move forward with my life. And so I've had a very good life. Again, I'm not to be bragging, but I've been a relatively successful individual. Well, success is a relative term, but in terms of education, I've completed a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I attended medical school for 4 years. I withdrew in my last year because I just didn't fit into allopathic medicine. I saw a path for me in more of a holistic approach to medicine and to wellness. So, in the interim years, I ended up exactly where I'm at now, uh, doing things in a natural way. And I'm on a plant based diet, trying to improve my health, and I would like to help you improve your health. So we then talked about our definite chief aim, which went into our next lesson of self confidence, which is a direct outgrowth of you establishing your definite chief aim, because you've got to have confidence to pursue it. So that was the next lesson. The next lesson was to develop the habit of saving. A lot of people have problems with this because everybody's got a habit of spending, but not everyone has the habit of saving. So we approached methods to get you motivated to save, to prepare yourself for whatever eventualities that life could throw in your way, whatever problems life could throw your way. We then went into initiative and leadership. We then moved on to use of our imagination, because in order to grow, your imagination is critical. You've got to imagine your future in order for you to set up a definite chief aim to pursue it. We then went from imagination into last week's lesson, which was enthusiasm. So if you've got the right attitude, not only an attitude of gratitude, but if you're enthusiastic about what you're talking about and what you're doing, you're going to change people's lives. That led us to today's lesson, which is on self-control. Now, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I have had some issues with self-control. I've had to battle my own little demons. And when it came time for me to complete a task, I had to exert a certain amount of self control to make sure that that task would be achieved. So today we're going to talk about self control. And then I'm going to, of course, turn it over to Dr. Hill, who's going to explain things probably a little bit better than I can. He's going to give you some rules for setting up your system of self control to keep you on track. So before I start, you know what I'm going to say to you, right? You can do it if you believe you can. Now, you learned how to transmit thoughts through suggestion in the last lesson. We talked about suggestion as a means to control others. So auto suggestion is used to control yourself. You can reprogram your thinking and your brain with the use of auto suggestion. Well, you can also influence others by use of suggestion. So you can plant a seed or an idea in someone's mind, and that seed, if nurtured properly, can grow into behavior that you're anticipating, that you want to see an outcome. So you have suggested an outcome to a friend, a relative, a client, a prospect, and um, through skillful, I don't want to say manipulation, but that's the only way to describe it, through skillful manipulation of their attitude. So you want to bolster everything you say with enthusiasm to keep the excitement level high, and then you want to suggest ways of improving um, your prospects' lot in life, or whatever it is, whatever goal they're trying to achieve, or whatever you're trying to get accomplished. You can suggest this to them and then explain to them how you benefit them, how it benefits them. Um, if you neglect to exercise self-control, you are not only likely to injure others, but you are sure to injure yourself. So, if you don't practice self-control, certain habits can get out of hand. You can develop an addiction. You can certain risk-taking behaviors are embraced when one does not exercise self-control, and risky behavior can put you and others in danger. So you want to be cognizant of what you do. Um, so with that, I'm going to hand the lesson over to Dr. Hill, and that way you guys get a better understanding of these concepts. So let's start our lesson today.
This visit brings us to the sixth principle of success, without which the 5 principles I have given you previously would be useless. It is the principle of self-discipline. Self-discipline, as I am presenting it to you here, has reference not only to your mastery of negative habits, which stand in the way of your success, but more particularly to your development and enforcement of the positive habits you will need in order to avail yourself of the 6 assets you brought over with you in that sealed envelope I mentioned in our first visit. Now let me give you a list of the more important things over which you will have to exercise self-discipline before you can embrace and use the great master key to riches. 1, you will have to gain mastery over your tongue by acquiring the habit of thinking first and then speaking after you are sure that what you say will benefit you and not injure others. A loose tongue often is one's greatest liability. 2, you will have to exercise self-discipline in mastering the common tendency to strike back at those at whom you have a cause, real or imaginary, for a grievance. You must remember that everything you do to or for another, you do to or for yourself, because your every thought and every act which benefits or injures another person comes back to you in kind, greatly multiplied. So if you feel that you must slander another person, do not speak it, but write it. Write it in the sands near the water's edge, then move away from it until the tides have flown. 3, you will have to exercise self-discipline over all of your emotions, particularly your emotions of love, hate, fear, and sex. These are the big 4 of your emotions, and they can make you or break you according to the extent of discipline you exercise over them. 4, your mental attitude needs discipline and control at all times. Lacking this discipline, it can, and it often does, drive away friends, destroy opportunities to get ahead, brings on physical and mental illness, develops stomach ulcers, and makes peace of mind impossible. 5, I have reserved the emotion of sex for special mention, because failure to exercise self-discipline over this emotion probably heads the list of all the causes of personal failure. The emotion of sex is the most powerful of all emotions, and it is nature's great creative instrument with which all species of living things are perpetuated. The proper means of self-discipline of the emotion of sex is transmutation, the control and direction of this great emotional feeling toward the attainment of worthy purposes, such as the fulfillment of one's major purpose in life. The great leaders, artists, orators, industrialists, and professional people have learned the art of sex transmutation through the proper system of self-discipline. Because of the delicacy of the subject of sex emotion, I am limited as to the information I can give you about it on this visit. But I have covered the subject much more in detail in some of my books. And six, your stomach also needs discipline through the proper habits of dieting and fasting. Because information on dieting and fasting should come from your own doctor. I will not go into details concerning them, except to call your attention to the need for knowledge on this subject. Personally, I attribute my sound physical health mainly to the habits of dieting and fasting, which I have developed through the years. And seven, you will need to exercise self-discipline in relation to religion and politics, because our country, which is the most acceptable form of society civilization has yet produced, is made up of people of varying beliefs in connection with both of these subjects. To be happy and prosperous in our country, we must learn to live and to let live, to give others the privileges we ask and demand for ourselves. And this often calls for strict discipline over self. Eight, but I have reserved until the last my reference to the most important circumstances over which you must exercise the strictest of self-discipline if you are to embrace and use the great master key to riches. I have reference to your profound privilege of taking possession of your own mind and directing it to whatever ends you may desire. You cannot take possession of your own mind or direct it to definite ends without a practical system. I have devoted the better portion of my past life to the revelation and presentation of such a system. And I know that this system works because it has been successfully used by many millions of people throughout the world. The system is not only practical and workable, but it is so simple that anyone who is ready for it may master it and use it successfully. Its use does not call for a genius nor a great amount of formal education. It calls only for a will to take possession of one's own mind and a definite purpose to which the mind is to be directed. Self-discipline by Thomas A. Edison made him the world's greatest inventor, who revealed to mankind during the first half of the 20th century more of nature's secrets than had been uncovered during the entire previous history of civilization. Self-discipline carried Wilbur and Orville Wright through a multitude of failures and enabled them finally to give the world its first practical airplane, an achievement which has made the world smaller and changed the entire trend of civilization. Self-discipline helped Helen Keller to triumph over deafness, blindness, and dumbness, a combination of afflictions such as most people never experience. Self-discipline helped me to carry on through years of heart-aching discouragement and defeat, and give the world the first practical philosophy of success based on the know-how gained by hundreds of men and women who spent a lifetime by the trial and error method in discovery of the principles which lead to personal success. Self-discipline is among the top-ranking features of all the great religions, including, of course, the Christian faith. And there are some people who believe that our major purpose on earth is that of developing wisdom through struggle and self-discipline. One thing is certain, no one ever becomes very wise without the aid of self-discipline, and no one ever finds peace of mind and happiness without the strict exercise of self-discipline. Self-discipline is the only means of transmuting sorrow into faith. It is the only means by which we may transmute hatred of others into the milder emotion of sympathy for them. It is the only means by which we may reveal and profit by the seed of an equivalent benefit which comes with every adversity and every defeat. It is the only means by which we may shut out of our minds the deadly effects of past experiences of suffering and unpleasantness. And it is the means by which we may discover that other self we carry around with us, that self which has great capacity for belief and does not become influenced by failure and defeat. Self-discipline can give us freedom from the fear of death, the most difficult to master of all of our fears. It can free us from the disease of hypochondria, the fear of imaginary illness with which so many people suffer and sometimes die. Self-discipline is the means by which we may think our own thoughts, live our own lives as we wish to live them, and remain forever free from the evils of fears and limitations which we have inherited from the dark ages before the dawn of civilization. The Creator never gives one an asset or benefit without passing along with it the means by which it may be embraced and used. Self-discipline, therefore, is the means by which the Creator provided us with a method of embracing and using the only thing over which we have unchallengeable control, the power of our own thoughts. And now, until our next visit, may I remind you that the habit of taking the line of least resistance makes all rivers and some men crooked.
Okay, we have it. We sure. All right. So to summarize, thoughts and actions toward others resemble an electric magnet. It attracts the same sort of thought, or the same sort of action. This is the principle of like attracts like. So we have learned that our actions towards others, whether they're kind or unkind, just or unjust, it will come back to us. And it's going to come back to us in even larger measure. So you want to be cognizant of how you treat people. You want to be in control of your manner of communicating thoughts to others, because you're changing your life, you're changing theirs. It's important to remember how powerful your thoughts are, and that this force, this energy that we call consciousness, can do miraculous things. Miraculous things. And if you don't practice self-control, it can be very destructive. So again, in summary, you are now ready to proceed to the next lesson. The next lesson requires a huge amount of self-control, because that lesson is the habit of doing things, of doing more than you're paid for. So that one requires some self-control, and I'm looking forward to our next visit. And I hope you enjoyed this visit. And please, if you're not logged in live, watch me on the replay. Watch this over, more than once, so that these principles are reinforced. And I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, either live or on replay. And I'm just going to say so long. Have a wonderful Saturday. Today's Saturday. And I will see you tomorrow for lesson number 9. And that's going to be the habit of doing more than you're being paid for. And with that, thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye. It was very good.
You're welcome, Bob. Bye.
Bye.